What is up everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am back again for another video as I do a review to our game of the weekend, of course, against Sheffield United. But yeah, before we get started, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. It costs nothing, so please, really would appreciate if you could help me out and get me to 200 subscribers in the next few months. It would be really appreciated, and thank you for everyone that's shown their support so far on the channel. It does mean a lot to me. And comment your thoughts on anything that is discussed throughout this episode, and also anything that you'd like to mention additionally as well. Feel free to share your thoughts with me, and obviously I'll reply once you do so. But yeah, let's get into the game then. So obviously starting lineups, yeah, we obviously set up in a 3-4-3 formation. Lee Nichols in goal, Lees, Heelick and Boyle at the back, with Kessler, Hayden and Josh Ruffles as the wing backs, and David Kasumu and Jack Redoni in the middle. And up front we have Sorba Thomas, Danny Ward through the middle and Dwayne Holmes. I mean, looking at the lineup, I didn't mind it. I think that Redoni, though, does suit that kind of role just behind the striker in terms of a bit further forward as a cam position, which maybe the formation may, I don't really know if I like the 3-4-3, if I'm honest with you. I think it's okay, but I think that Redoni should be further forward for me, just in behind the striker, like I say. So I don't think he should be in that. But obviously, with the players out, he didn't really have a choice to do that, to be honest with you, in fairness to Mark. Kamara wasn't on the bench. I don't know what's happened with Kamara. I don't know if he's picked up a slight injury or something. But he wasn't involved, so we didn't have many options with it. So having said that, I do understand why I was utilising that position, because we had nobody else. That's where we're at the moment with our squad. We just are having to utilise players in different areas, maybe that aren't the best positions, but it is needs must at the moment. Obviously, it was a big boost to see Hogg back on the bench, of course. Obviously, just come back from injury, so I did say in the preview that I didn't really want to see him starting. Not because I don't want to see him starting, but because I didn't want him to be rushed back and then obviously get injured again. So obviously, it's about managing that. But obviously, he came on in the second half and had 45 minutes. So for me, he'll be ready to start on Saturday, and he needs to start on Saturday as well. But yeah, I mean, apart from that, I was surprised that Ben Jackson was on the bench. I think that, kind of spoken about Ben a lot this season so far, and for me, he's one of the first players on the team sheet. Well, he has been anyway, and I think potentially he should have really been playing instead of Holmes. I think that, when we do see Holmes and he makes an impact, it's mostly from the bench rather than the starter. But yeah, so yeah, I think, like I said, the lineups was fine for me, really, apart from that. So yeah, let's get into the game then. So I emphasise this in the preview show, that we had to stay in the game. And what I meant by that is, I meant that not allow them to score in the opening, in the opening exchanges. And unfortunately, that is exactly what they did. They scored in the 15th minute. So we go 1-0 down. The goal coming from Billy Sharp. Brilliant finish again. Fantastic ball through for him to get on the end of it. He did have a lot to do to get it in, to be fair, but again, that's the difference. They have the quality. They have someone that knows where the back of the net is, and that's not having any kind of, I don't want to disrespect our players, our front line, obviously Danny Ward, John Rose, our strikers that we've got, because I don't want to do that. But Billy Sharp, he's been there, seen it, and done it. He's scored goals for fun throughout his whole career, and the creativity as well around him as well, obviously, does help him get the goals that he's got throughout his time, but he's still done very well to keep scoring goals throughout his career. A brilliant career, very experienced. And yeah, like I say, he had a lot to do to finish this goal, but he did. He slotted it over the keeper very nicely, and that was that. And obviously we did have half chances in the match, but nothing more than that from our point of view. I think that obviously that's another problem, because the fact is we're feeding off scraps most of the time, if we're honest, and it's always going to be difficult to get goals. If that is what is happening, but I do think it's about the quality as well. Like I said, I don't want to disrespect any of our players, but we need more quality. We need somebody that can score week in, week out, and can get you, 20 plus goals a season. And now I'm not saying that's easy to come by, because it isn't. That's a reality. But we need something in January, which we'll get into very soon, that will, obviously get us more goals than we're getting at the moment. But I feel like a massive part of that is the creativity around the front line. I don't really see much creativity at the moment, if I'm honest. Obviously Jack Redone is always trying to create, great, but I don't really see any creativity around the squad, and that's a real issue as well. So we need to get some players in that are creative, that do create chances for time and time again, and to enable us to actually have clear cut chances. Because, like I said, if we're playing off half chances, we're just not going to see any joy, because it's just not sustainable. we talk about the game overall. Obviously, it was a very flat performance from both sides, if I'm honest. But the key thing here is when you're not playing well, which Sheffield United weren't at the peak. Obviously, they've had a break. We all had a break, and they were firing before the break had to come for the World Cup. It's always going to take a few weeks to get up to speed, and that's what I said in my preview show. It was always going to be about just getting a result for either side, really, and find a way to win. And that is difference. That is a real quality to have, winning games when you're not at your best, and we have done that this season as well. So, yeah. I think that, like I said, it was a fairly even game. Both sides looked flat, like I said. Nothing separating the two sides other than, they had that one chance and they scored it. And that's the difference. And I think that obviously they would have been a lot happier to actually continue the season, like I said, instead of having to stop for the World Cup. But it is what it is, and obviously the fact that they've managed to win the game when they've not been playing well, that bodes well for them for the upcoming games as well. So, yeah, and they're only going to get better and get firing again very soon. There's no doubt about that. Like I said, the first half from us was absolutely shocking, being totally honest. Second half was a slight improvement, but nowhere near enough to get even a point from the game, in my opinion. Obviously, we were trailing at the time, so I really didn't feel like we deserved, to get a point at all. Like I said, it was great to see Hoggy back in. A big boost for us. Our captain, of course, came in the second half, played 45 minutes, made a big difference as always. And yeah, like I say, I do expect him to start on Saturday now against Watford. I just think that he has to do. And I think he'll be ready to as well. So I don't see any problems with that. Obviously, we saw a glimpse of Tyrese Simpson for the last, 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, like I say, first time we've seen him, looks a strong lad. Obviously, I certainly think we should judge him over the next few weeks, rather than making a judgment of him now, for sure. But, Obviously, what I saw him, obviously, linked up play well. But aerially, I think he needs to improve on that. He needs to use his strength better, to be honest with you. Hopefully that'll come. But another point I want to make is we will have to see what happens with Simpson. But in all due respects, he's come in as a forward. Is he any better, really, than what we've got? I'm not so sure at this stage. And, of course, he doesn't come with a pedigree of being a prolific goal scorer, so that is a worry. But we'll just have to see. But yeah, it's not a signing obviously that we made back in the summer that I think to myself that he'll be a big difference to see us survive, which is no disrespect to him, but I don't really know. Obviously at Ipswich he wasn't really highly thought of, really. I think from my kind of overriding kind of stance of it in terms of what I got from other Ipswich fans, obviously seeing what Ipswich fans were saying about him, they wasn't really that bothered that he'd left. So I don't really know. Obviously he has had his injury issues as well, so that's probably maybe why as well, but that doesn't really bode well. But we'll just have to see. I'm not going to make a judgment of him yet, but again, I don't know if he's the answer to our troubles at the moment. And obviously, Mark Fotheringham. Let's talk about him now. Then, so obviously, if you remember back when he came in, his emphasis was he wasn't here to make friends. He was all about the results and getting results. Now, I think that we have made good steps under him, and we definitely look more organised at the back. I think that's a real positive. Defensively, we look so much better. There's no doubt about that. However, we are still not managing to get many wins since he came in, which is ultimately what we need in this situation we find ourselves in. The point I'm trying to make here is that now he seems to be coming out after the games and saying that he's proud of performance, week in, week out. But unfortunately, that isn't going to get you wins, Mark, I'm afraid. We need wins. And speaking of being proud, I'm not really sure what he saw at the weekend that made him feel proud. Because ultimately it was two sides that looked very flat, like I said earlier. Couldn't really separate them. That wasn't down to our quality, that was just down to Sheffield United pretty much obviously being flat themselves. Otherwise, if they would have been firing, then we probably would have lost by a few more. But yeah, so I don't see why he was proud of that performance. I feel like that's really strange comments to come out with, after you've lost a game, and yeah, it just seems to be on our autopilot every week, every game, saying the same things, and it's quite predictable, if I'm honest with you. And I'm not wanting to look like I'm being nasty to Mark, because I'm not. I'm just saying what I see, and I just don't get the comments he makes after games. It just doesn't make sense, because it doesn't add up. The emphasis was when he came into, he needs to get results. It's about getting results, not making friends. But now he's saying he's proud of the performance, which I don't necessarily see why. As a fan, I don't see that. In terms of that performance of the week, I don't see what's to be proud of. Results, yes, okay, the results have improved, but we haven't seen many wins still, and we haven't seen enough progress. And in that first half, after that, going to the break in the first half, I was thinking to myself, okay, Mark didn't have a pre-season when he came, and I understand that, but he's had literally a few weeks to work with the players, obviously, including that breakaway in Marbella, and we actually look worse. We look worse in that first half than what I've ever seen. That's not really acceptable. He's had time to work with the players. Okay, he can only work with what he's got, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. But if we're looking worse than what we did before the break, by quite a big margin, I'm not really sure what they've been doing in that period in the last few weeks to actually get up to speed. Keep working and obviously see the positive performances that we all want to continue to that we all want to see. So yeah, I'm not, I don't really want to be too, too harsh on him, but you know, tactically, at times he has been a bit naive. I understand that he's still new to the job, but yeah, to have a number of weeks with the players and obviously looking worse in that first half, and even the second half was only a slight improvement. It wasn't much of an improvement, if I'm honest. So yeah, that's all I want to say really about it. Obviously, yeah, we're just gonna have to see what happens. But it just confuses me sometimes what he comes out with. But that's just my opinion. Look at the situation we're in now. Yeah, obviously we're 6 points from safety now, which again, that's increased already. Obviously it was 4 points. It's now 6. And yeah, things are looking very bleak and things are looking very difficult. And this is definitely going to be one hell of a fight to stay up now. And I know it's only December. I know there's plenty of games left. But I don't see how we're going to get out of this. I really don't. And that's just me being honest and here. And it's gonna, it's gonna be the biggest of challenges to get out of this now, and that's just my view. But yeah, like I say, only one game back from the break, so we'll have to see. But yeah, obviously I want to touch upon the Tino Andrin situation at the moment. Obviously, don't get me wrong, his first loan we hardly saw him due to injury, but this season he came back on loan from Chelsea. Obviously, he really did impose himself, and at the start of the season looked a big threat as well and contributed a lot. And obviously he had a full pre-season with Chelsea. He went out to America before getting the call from us to come and join us, and he looked very sharp. He looked very good when we saw him, at the start of the season. And it was during the that period at the start of the season, it was the most we've actually seen of him, and I was feeling quite positive about it. I thought, what, maybe his injury problems are behind him, and we will see, Tino playing all season and regular. But how wrong was I? Because obviously he got struck down with glandular fever. Obviously that sidelined him for ages. And obviously looking ahead to the restart of the season at the weekend, there was a big hope that he would be ready to start, obviously, and play again after recovering from that. But news has come out that obviously he's picked up another injury, and this time it's an ankle injury. And it does seem like I spoke too soon at the start of the season in terms of maybe his injury issues are behind him. Now, I absolutely love Tino, I do. I think he's a fantastic player, great talent, still young, and he's one of those players that gets you off your seat and excites you. But now we're back to square one, and obviously, unfortunately, I don't really know what's kind of best to do with him now, unfortunately, in terms of whether he stays or whether he goes back to Chelsea, because I don't necessarily feel confident that we'll see him anytime soon again now. I feel like it's going to be at least, a few months until we see him again. And by that time, the season's nearly over and, we're not really, having the benefit of what we need him for, which is for the full season. So yeah, it's very frustrating with Tino because I think that we can see he's got talent. He's a great player. I love him, but I don't really, we can't really be doing with passengers in our side at the moment. Players that hardly play are injury prone, and that's the harsh reality. Our squad is already thin as it is. To be dealing, to be having somebody that's just not able to consistently stay fit, it's just not good for the club. We need somebody like that in the side at the moment, especially if he's not going to be able to play for the next few, until in the next few months, then I don't really see any point in keeping him. But yeah, it's one of those. It's because on one hand you love him and you really do think he's got talent in there, but on the other hand, if we're not seeing him and he's not, then what's the point? Kind of thing. So yeah, it's one of those. But I just wanted to bring that up because obviously, it was disappointing to hear that he'd obviously got injured again, and yeah, we're just back to square one with him, and especially when we need him so much right now. It's just so frustrating and so annoying for us. But yeah, it is. We are where we are, and obviously decisions will have to be made with that one, and see what happens. But yeah, obviously, finally, I want to touch upon obviously the January transfer market is looming, of course. In the next few weeks, it will be open. But obviously, from what I've been hearing, it doesn't look like we're going to be doing much, and that is a big worry for me, because there appears to be no, Mark, obviously in his press conference was questioned about the transfer market. Obviously, in December, everyone starts to talk about the January transfer window and what kind of business we may look to do. So obviously, Mark was questioned about that in the press conference, and obviously, he did kind of say that there would be no real funds available unless we sell players. Now, the problem I have with that is we can sell players on and get some players in, but then you're losing key players that we need or that we still need, but we want to add to it to improve. So you're in that position where you're selling your best players and actually not replace them with the same amount of quality. But arguably, we can't afford to kind of spend up whatever we get on maybe Kamara, which is being touted at a few million, that we can't afford to just be saying one player, because we need players across the whole pit. Well, mainly in front areas for me now, to be fair. I'm fairly happy with the defence, if I'm honest. And yeah, so I think we need a number of acquisition, players up front, and in them creative areas. So, but yeah, like I said, we've always kind of sold players, for quite a big fee, and then kind of replace them with obviously cheaper options, if you could say so. And yeah, it does. But the problem we've got is we're in a position now where we find ourselves in that we are in real danger of going out. I know it's only December, like I said earlier, and I know there's plenty of time to go, but things don't look good. The signs don't look good. We just I'm just kind of saying it how it feels at the moment, and we need players in January. That's the reality. We need more players in January, and when it doesn't look like we're going to be getting many players in January, if any. Obviously, we have got that lad Canberra. Obviously, I don't know what he's like. Obviously, he'll be joining in January, so that is one player that we're going to be getting in January. But I don't really know. Again, so we don't really know much about him, so it's just a bit unknown about him. Obviously, we need players that are proven. For me, in the Championship, and whether we get players like that, I don't really feel that confident about that. But yeah, another thing to add on to this is the ownership situation. It doesn't seem to be progressing in terms of selling it. And we haven't really had any dialogue about what's going on in that front, if I'm honest with you. So I don't really know what's happening with that. But yeah, it's just so difficult and so painful, like to see the situation we're in, and yeah, there's always hope, and I don't really be so negative, and I don't really feel like I'm just being honest, really, about how I see things. And when you're not getting goal, when you're not creating enough, when you're only getting chances that half chances mostly, it doesn't really bode well, like I said. So yeah, this is going to be one hell of a fight to stay up. We're going to have to just see what happens. But again, coming away from the game on Saturday, just feeling very, very disappointed. But that's kind of a thing that we've got used to most of this season, unfortunately. And yeah, obviously on to Saturday now. We're back at home against Watford and see what we can do there. But yeah. So yeah, that's all in terms of today's video. So yeah, thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have not I hope I haven't been rambling on too much. But of course, I just say how it is, and I just see, just kind of express my opinions the best I can without being too negative and too rambly. So yeah, like I say, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and comment your thoughts on anything you'd like to bring up, and what I've discussed in today's episode. Let me know what you're thinking about that. But yeah, obviously I'll be back in the coming days, do a preview to our game against Watford. So stay tuned for that. You can also follow me on my socials, HTFTV8 on Twitter and Instagram, so please give me a follow on those. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, have a good rest of the week. I'll be back in a few days' time to do my next video. But until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Up the town.